So, are you ready?
My name is JJ.
My name is JM.
My name is Doc. My name is Jay.
And my name is Jamie.
And welcome to It's Time Financial House.
So, are you ready?
Invest in the stock market so that you'll become rich.
I know it's unconventional, it's not traditional, but it works. Plan, build, secure.
Do you want to become a super manifester? This March, Coach Marc Wynn will teach us how here in WoW.
So I'm really excited that I'm going to be able to teach you this skill. It's a skill on how to be a super manifester. And over the course of the next 5 weeks, I'm going to take you on some amazing journey. But I'm going to give you the spiritual knowledge as to why things work. So when you put them into action, they'll happen. So we're going to deal with divine connection. We're going to deal with self-empowerment, how you can take control back over your lives. We're going to deal with money and getting new clients. We're going to deal with love and happiness. And then I'm going to tell you the one big secret that you must know. And this will totally transform your life. And it will make all your manifestations like that, boom, and they just happen. And you'll go from wherever you are in your life to suddenly smiling and being excited because you've got all this stuff magically coming in. This is like a magic formula. And I know this works because I've proven it to work with me and over 20,000 people around the world. And you'll be amazed what you see will happen.
So get your fill of wisdom every Wednesday.
It's time!
There's a secret to success everybody hopes to find. There's a key to the world, and it's mine, all mine. There's a world of opportunity filled with possibility and dreams that I'm gonna find. I got a millionaire mind. I say yes. I say yes to success. I got a millionaire mind. I say yes. I say yes to success. I've got a blueprint for the future, a brand new design. I'm playing at the money game, winning all the time. There's a world of opportunity filled with possibility and dreams that I'm going to find. I got a millionaire mind. I say yes, oh, I say yes to success.
Hello, everyone. Before we begin, let's start with a prayer in the name of the Father, of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord, thank you for another WoW session today. We pray that everyone who listens will be inspired to take action and change their lives for the better, so we will all have a great 2021. All this we pray through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good afternoon, everybody.
I'm Jesse.
Joey.
I'm JJ.
I'm JM.
I'm Jock. I'm Jake.
And I'm Jamie.
And welcome to It's Time Wow!
Wisdom on Wednesdays.
Your weekly dose of wisdom.
So, for this month of March, we will have a special guest who will teach us the secrets to manifesting our dreams and goals.
This is going to be a series of talks. It will be an amazing journey for all of us to manifest our desires. Today, he will share on divine connection and how we can use it to transform our lives. So, without further ado, let us start with the 8th episode of Wisdom on Wednesdays.
Our guest speaker's story is both interesting and exciting, and he hopes that will be an inspiration for other people to transform their lives. He had been following a spiritual path, believing he understood how the law of attraction works, yet he was manifesting more and more problems, and his life was just getting worse. But on the 19th of January 2015, what he learned changed his life. He discovered how the 1% physical world and 99% spiritual world work hand in hand, and how to use spiritual solutions to solve physical problems, whether that be health problems, relationships, confidence, or even money issues. Calling himself the manifestation guy, his teachings are based on self-verification, where he explains a concept and gives all his clients a technique for them to self-prove that it works.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Coach Marc Wynn!
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Wisdom on Wednesdays. We are here with Mr. Marc Wynn. So aside from what we heard from JJ, would you like to first introduce yourself and from which part of the world you're from and what do you do?
My name's Mark. I live in the United Kingdom. I actually live in Scotland. I'm originally from London. And I suppose my story is that I hit rock bottom in 2015, 19th of January. And I thought I knew everything about life. And everything just went wrong. Was seriously in debt. I was depressed. I had health issues, 16 operations on my vocal cords, was unable to speak. Sounded like Darth Vader most of the time, which is very difficult to run a business when you're just unable to talk. So when you hit rock bottom is a fantastic place if you want to change your life. And so I had to go back through all the spiritual knowledge and everything that I knew to find out why things had gone wrong, what I was doing wrong, all the mistakes. And so I went on this journey. And it's from developing a spiritual knowledge of how the life works. I solved every single problem, as you can hear, even my throat as well. And so it's all of that knowledge that I've then taken and I've put into things like digital courses, into my coaching. I've got over 20,000 students around the world in 146 countries. I'm one of the highest rated instructors in what I do. My students start calling me a spiritual badass. And I've got this fantastic video where literally they just go on and go, Mark is a badass. He's a spiritual badass. Because I tell the truth in terms of how life really works. But what's really, really, really important with the stuff that I do is there's two types of knowledge. There is intellectual knowledge, which, you can watch a video, you can read a book, you can find a fossil, and it just tells you what you want to know. But that's only 20% of everything. What you need is self-verification knowledge, which is what I teach, which basically means you can take what I give you and you can prove that it works. You can get results like that. And everything that I teach is because I've had to learn it for myself, do it on myself, see the results for myself. And I've made it shorter and shorter and shorter. So you can get just like with my manifestation stuff, I've got a technique. It takes 90 seconds to do, but you can see immediate results, things just happening in your life. And that's really important. So everything I do is self-verification. So people can take it and go, look, I'm going to go and try this, Mark, and see if you're right. But because they can see the stuff I've given them is correct, they know it's correct. Because they know it's correct, they can then change their lives. And that's the whole point of this. So that's kind of like me. That's my journey. And I've got to where I'm now. I've got a consultancy business, and then I've got all my coaching business, which I do. And I just kind of put them all together. And I suppose my big target this year is to help 100,000 people transform their lives, but transform their lives with money. They can transform it in other ways, just because we've got all these big challenges in the world. And I just think it would be great where people had at least, financial freedom, no debts, and they've got more money coming in than they know what to do with. And so that's really kind of my drive for this year, is to show people how they can manifest wealth, manifest happiness, manifest health, manifest relationships, and bring all of that flooding into their lives.
Our topic for this whole month of March is all about manifesting, right? And this is going to be a very interesting topic. I want to know, when did you start to learn about this power of manifestation?
Well, here's the interesting thing is like going back to that 2015 when all my problems were just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I hit rock bottom. And then I realized that all the problems in my life, I was manifesting, right? And people fail to get this. People are natural born manifestors. It's a skill that we were given, right? That comes from the universe. It comes from the spiritual world. It comes from God, whichever way you want to look at it. We are natural born manifestors. We can think of things and they just happen. But what I realized was all the problems I had, I was creating myself. And it was when I learned to take responsibility for that and then take this ability to manifest stuff, but point it in a different direction to the things that I did want as opposed to the things that I didn't want, that I then found that it's like a kind of like a set of scales, you know, you're getting all this rubbish, all this crap coming through and no good stuff. And then when you start to move the scales, suddenly you get all this wonderful stuff coming in. So it was really from my, from 2015 moving forward, and I learned the technique. The technique I learned actually probably about 12 years ago, but I never realized the power of it. So in 2015, I started to work again with this technique that I knew, and I chopped and I changed it and I developed it. And then suddenly it just developed into something that you can do and it works. But the more you practice it, because manifestation is a skill, it just means that everybody should have what I call deliberate manifestation. So if you think of something, like bang, right? Like, so I'm chatting to you and in my mind, I'm asking myself a question like, I wonder how old Joey is. But you might turn around to me and say, Mark, I had my 21st birthday yesterday, right? And that thing about me asking a question and you giving me the answer is what manifestation is meant to be about. It's meant to be about loads and loads and loads of small things that you can just think about and they come to you in terms of the answers. And so this technique I knew about for ages, and then I started to develop, and it was only through 2016, 2017, and then I then put like a kind of turbo onto it in December. And so I had just over about £51,000 come to me in December. And then I got a tax refund, and that was another £6,000. And then I just keep on getting more and more and more stuff that keeps coming into my life. That's the big stuff, and like loads and loads of small things.
So is that why you think you are such an expert in this? It's all because of these experiences that you have had? Or prior to that, did you have like a mentor, or did you learn this from anyone?
The reason why I'm an expert is because it comes down to proof. Because one, I can prove that it works, because I can give people, see, with everything that I do, there's two sides to it. There is the explanation, and then there is the solution. And what people fail to do that are out there is tell you how something works. So they'll go, right, what you need to do is X, Y, and Z. But what they're telling you to do in terms of manifestation is the same as what somebody else has read in a book and what somebody else has seen in a video. So what I do that's different is I'll give you the spiritual explanation as to why it works. And because you have that knowledge, then when you come to do the solution, it makes sense. It's a bit like me saying to you, right, I'm going to give you this car. It's fantastic. It's anti-gravitational. It can fly in the air, and it can take you to the shops. It can take you to America. It can take you on holiday. It can take you anywhere you want. And you go, Mark, that's brilliant. But if I never tell you how to work it, how to use it, it's worth nothing. It's just going to sit on your driveway and you're never going to be able to use it. So I gave up listening to people back in 2015, 2016. And rather than listen to anybody else, I went, right, I'm going to develop my own spiritual connection, and I'm going to find out the answers for myself. And it's that which I've been able to do, and pull in the answers, test the answers, prove that they work. And then I can then know, right, because I know they work, I'm then happy to give them to other people. And it's that sharing thing.
I'd like to actually ask if that's okay for you to share with us all the things that you have manifested other than money. And of course, I know that because of these manifestations, that's what makes you an expert. You mentioned a while ago because you have proof. So can you tell us more about them? Yeah,
so in terms of what you should be doing is having between 10 and 20 thoughts a day, that you can manifest. Now, so I'm talking about like kind of the real key here is forget about the big stuff you really have to get the manifestation of the small things, because it's like a baby. You know, a baby has to learn to crawl, then walk, then stand up, or stand up and then walk, and then run, and then it can sprint. And if you ask a baby to sprint, first of all, it's going to go, I can't do it. But this is what people go wrong. It's like one of the areas that people go wrong in with manifestation is they want all the big stuff. They want the big car and the big house. They want to be a millionaire and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, well, if you can't do the small things, then how are you going to get the big things? So, for example, can I ask you a question? Like, where do you think good luck, coincidences, and good ideas come from? Where do you think they come from, Joey?
Well, I believe it's from God, or from who we believe is a higher power. So in my case, when I get ideas, because I have my faith, so I think it's coming from that.
Well, you're absolutely right. And you're one of the very few people that know the answer to that. Because what a lot of people do is they go, oh, it comes from my brain. And I go, no, it comes from my mind. And I go, well, no, how does it get into your mind? How does it get there in the first place? And this is what you're describing there is, the divine connection, the spiritual connection. It's because you have a door that's open. I'll refer to kind of certain things like doors being open between you and, the divine, the spiritual world, God, however you want to term it. It's the same thing. Because that door is open, the information can come in. So like it's everything should be in life really, really simple and easy. And so what people don't do is constantly ask during the day, how do I get a solution for that? What's the best way for doing that? Where are my keys? How can I get a refund on this? So for example, like I went into Superdry, before we had this lockdown thing, and they had an item that was on sale. So it had like 30% off. So in my head, I was walking up to the cashier. I was like, it'd be really good if I got some more money off, right? It's just a thought. And then you get to the cashier and the cashier says, zaps the barcode and says, oh, look, we've reduced it in price again. So there was like another 20% that came off. So the actual jumper that I was buying, instead of being 30% off, it was 50. And it's that thought thing. It's like it can be anything. Like if you've lost something, well, I say never use the word lost, but you misplace something in the house, like I don't know, a pen or tweezers or something. And you have that thought, like I need to make that reappear, and it does. So these 10 to 20 deliberate manifestations should be there in our life. But what most people do is they never ask. They're too asleep at a conscious level. And so they just lead their lives kind of blinkered in terms of like, I'm on Facebook, I'm on the television, I'm worrying about this, I'm worrying about that. And they never ask for these things. And that's the spiritual connection. But that's how manifestation works is the asking and knowing that it's going to come, right? Because, and I'll give you the explanation for that as we go on, through this talk. And that's the whole point of all of everything, is knowing that you can create anything and everything to happen.
Mark, how do we ask? Because I know a lot of us have been praying, especially here in the Philippines. We are a Catholic country, Christian country, and we do that by praying. So is that the same as how you're saying it, to ask?
It is. You need to have the spiritual knowledge first, right? And I'll put some slides together to explain that bit, because there's a difference between praying working and praying failing to work. And the reason why most prayers go unanswered is because a combination of people blocking them from happening. And I'll give you an example. Imagine you had like a fisherman, and he's in the living room and he's sitting there and he's got all the kit on and he's praying that he's going to catch loads and loads of fish. And then an hour goes past and he's caught no fish. 2 hours go past, he's caught no fish. But the fisherman has never caught any fish because he's never gone and done anything. He's just sat in the living room. He hasn't gone to where the water is, and all the fish might be there for him. Another reason for like people like praying, there's a difference between believing something's going to happen and knowing it's going to happen. A lot of people, when they pray, they ask for something from a place of either having no belief or a disbelief or they're, that they got no excitement in their life. This is something I'll kind of talk on to. And so they're coming from a place of desperation as opposed to from a place of knowing it's going to happen. There's two sides to that. So if you're desperate for something and you ask and ask and ask and ask, the chances are it's never going to happen, because there are spiritual rules that govern all of our lives, no matter what your religious beliefs are. And if you're going against those, it's like going upstream. You make things really, really difficult. Whereas you want to actually, when you ask, know that it's going to happen, and you come downstream. And this is the kind of difference between it. But unless you've got that belief, because you know how the spiritual knowledge works, it makes it really difficult. It's like me giving you a flying car, and you go, yeah, I know it's going to fly. And I go, well, great. But unless I've shown you how it works, it makes it really difficult, because you've got to push all these knobs and buttons, and is it going to go up or down? And that's the difference is with prayer. A lot of people ask, but they disbelieve it's going to happen, because they've got a belief system to make it happen.
Is it also because probably when we ask in prayer, it's mostly just the big stuff?
Again, it comes back to this thing about, if you're asking for big things and they never happen, it's because you've never learned the belief or the skill of asking for small things and they happen. And the big thing here is that most people have given away control over their lives. So they, instead of being in control of their life, where they feel good and they feel strong and they feel happy and they feel vibrant, they give control away to the doctors or the bank manager or other people in relationships. And so the prayer thing is just comes from a place of desperation, like, I want this. But if you look at it if you turn the whole thing around, and if you looked at it from God's point of view, and God was looking down at you, but you were him looking at yourself, as it were, he's going to say, well, actually, I put you on this planet for a reason. And one of the purposes that you're here for is to live fun and exciting lives, right? I want your life to be incredible. I want it to be exciting. I want you to wake up and you jump out of bed and you feel great, and you're excited about this and you're excited about that. And, you're excited to be alive. Most people have no excitement in their lives. They're drained and their shoulders come round. And I did this. When I was having all my problems, I spent 99% of my time focusing on everything that I didn't want, on the negativity, on this is going to go wrong and that's going to go wrong, and this person calls me this and this person doesn't like me, and why is this happening? And the problem is, when you focus on all of those things, you then get more of those things coming into your life, right? That's the way our world works, because it's like, we were given control of our lives, and so the world was created like a mirror. Whatever you focus on, it comes back in. And people go, yeah, I know that, Mark. And I go, well, why are you spending the majority of your time on everything that you don't want? It should be on the stuff that you do want. So from this perspective of God looking at you, God says, look, it's dead simple. I'm going to give you one condition that you have to meet to make prayer or asking actually work. And I want you to be excited about your life. Excited to see the sunrise, excited to hear the dogs bark, excited to play with your kids, excited to have a coffee with your friend, excited to be paid on a job, for things that haven't even happened. I need you to be excited about different things of your life, and forget about all the big things, because they will happen. Forget about all the problems and things. I just want you to be excited. And if you are excited, it's what makes everything work. The asking, the praying, right? Because you have this energy inside of you, and you're meeting this one condition that has been laid down by you, and it's a spiritual law, and it goes right across every different religion. That you have to be excited about as many different things in your life. And this was the big turning point for me back in 2015. Was I went, you got a choice, right? Imagine a waterline. Below the waterline is this place called fear, and it's horrible, right? You're worried about this, you're worried about the debts, you're worried about what people say, you're worried about being ill, right? And above the waterline is this place called excited. Now, one of the universal laws is that is called choice, and you have to make a choice in life, and you can be only one thing or another. You can be happy or sad, you're wet or you're dry, right? You're either pleased to see someone or displeased to see someone, right? You're one thing or another. So if you live your life in fear below the waterline, it's like you're drowning. It's like horrible, you know, and you're like, this has gone wrong, that's gone wrong. And you manifest more problems. But when you go above the waterline to this place called excited, life's easy, it's great, right? And because you're up there, you've met the one spiritual condition that you've got to meet. And because you get what you focus on and you're excited about life, all the things that you ask for happen. Because what you've done is you've opened up this door to the spiritual world. And I know we've got a whole number of talks here. So what I'm going to do is in some of the other ones, I'm going to explain how you can have multiple doors and how you get those doors to get bigger. Because if you imagine it, if you've got a small door, you can get small things come in. If you've got a big door, you can get masses of things coming in. If you've got masses of bigger doors, amazing things come in. And that is why some people have nothing come into their lives, because they shut all those doors, and how some people can sit back and they can do nothing and they're relaxed and life is good, and people keep giving them things, keep giving them stuff. And you're like, how do you do this? And it's because their doors are open. And that's the difference. That's why, you know, this one condition is the difference between prayer being blocked and prayer being working, right? And it works for people. And it's this simple one law that changes everything. And if we're excited about everything, then it's impossible to be miserable if you're excited. It's a vibrational thing. If you want to look at it that way, you can only be one thing or another. Like illness is a low vibration. Health is a high vibration. It's one thing or another. So what are you going to focus on? Are you going to focus on illness and get more illness? You know, are you going to focus on being healthy, which is a high vibration? It can only be, everything in life can be one thing or another. And it's a choice that everyone has to make. And most people refuse to make that choice because they've given control away over their lives. And because they've given that control away, they let everyone else control their lives. And then they moan because their lives are rubbish.
I actually agree with you that we all need to be excited and happy every day. And if that's the only condition, then I wish that everyone will just do it.
Yeah.
Wake up every day being happy, being excited for whatever is there to come, right? I also do that with my team. I always tell them, get excited for unexpected blessings that you will be receiving today. But anyway, can we go back to my previous question?
Yes.
What have you manifested?
Right. Okay. So recently, I'll just run through kind of some of the things that's recently. So for example, I've got another house to the one I'm in, and everything was being thrown away, but there was this one painting that I really wanted, and I was told it had been thrown out, and it was a picture of my kids, and it was their footprints and handprints from when they were really young, and it'd been put in the bottom of a skip, and it rained overnight, and you imagine what a skip's like, and it's all full of rubbish. So I was really keen to have this thing, you know, still in pristine condition. So I've got this manifestation technique. I did it. I pulled everything out the skip, and I made a mistake when I was going through the skip, and I manifested the idea that I might cut my finger because I was pulling out broken glass and picture frames and things. And I got to the bottom of the skip, and I found this picture frame, and even though it had been raining and everything, there was no glass on it. It was just canvas. It was still in perfect condition. And as I went to pick it up, I cut my finger without realizing it. So I manifested getting this thing out of the skip and actually cutting my finger at the same time. I had a couple of bottles of champagne that I'd lost in the house. And these were back from 1989 and 90. And so I wanted to find them. So I thought about them. And then I went upstairs and I found a box. And they're in the box. Well, these things are worth over $1,000. I was looking for a ring that I misplaced, and it was an old gold ring I bought ages ago. And then suddenly it just turned up out of the blue. Now I know that thing's worth nearly about another $1,000. Other silly things, like we had some snow a few years ago, and my daughter dropped her iPhone in the snow. And of course, iPhones in snow, and it was nearly 2 foot of snow. It's going to get wrecked. So I did the technique, but I made a mistake when I did the technique. And there was one thing I forgot to do. And so we went outside, we looked for the phone, 20 minutes, half an hour, no phone. And I was like, oh no, it's going to be ruined. It's going to be ruined. So I was blocking the manifestation from happening because I was thinking about the negativity that I'm never going to find this. nearly 2 weeks after that phone had disappeared, I was sitting down with my son and my phone rang, and it was my daughter's picture on there, and her number had been put in as a kind of, my telephone number as a recovery number. So I answered it, and a guy said to me, I found this phone, and it was like 20 houses away from where we live. And it had been in the snow for 2 weeks. Cars had been driving over it. People had been walking over it. The snow had all melted, and he'd found it. And he plugged it in, and it worked. Now, you kind of go, that's impossible. That should never happen. And so, like, you know, so things that you misplace in life. My son lost his AirPods, and they said they were down at the train station. So I did the technique, and then they suddenly turned up, but in my daughter's bedroom. And this is part of the technique, is that you have no attachment to how things can actually happen. So it's small things like that. I mean, you'll laugh at this one, but so I take the dog out walking, and we have a big grass area where he walks, but sometimes he's going to poo. Now, I know he's done it, but I won't necessarily know where it is. But because I want to collect that poo and not leave it to somebody else, I ask in my head, where's he done it? And then suddenly I get this idea, go over to the left, and it's over there. And I find it, put it in a bag, and then I can go and bin it. So you can use it for like all those small things, you know, you want to find. My girlfriend lost her tweezers in the living room. So I do the technique, and a thing just turns up, but it turned up rather than turning up in the living room, the tweezers turned up in a dressing gown, which she'd put away. You know, so when you do these things, it's like, you can do it going shopping. You know, I needed some coolant for my car, and it's usually 14 quid. So when I went into the shops, I asked, you know, could it be on sale? And it was, and I got it for £7. So this is what I'm saying. Everything should be about consciously thinking about what it is that you want, so that when you see it happen, you go, I did that. But the absolute fundamental key with all of this is saying thank you, right? People talk about gratitude, but they really miss the point about gratitude. So like, if you did a favor for me, I'd say, thank you. Thanks, Joey. That was brilliant. And then if you did another one, I'd say, listen, Joey, that was absolutely amazing. Thank you. But I would thank you. But the thing is that when people get things happen to them in their lives, they never say thank you to where it's come from. Because I did ask you at the beginning, where does good ideas, luck, and coincidence come from? So you said to me, they come from above. Correct. But do you ever, when you get those good ideas, those coincidences, and that luck, do you ever say thank you when they come in?
Not right away.
No. Now, so if you imagine you're in the spiritual world, your God or whatever, and you go, thanks for this small thing that's just happened, what you've created is a recognition between you and the physical world, and you're only 1%, and the spiritual world, which is 99%, it's like so much bigger than us. Because you said, thank you for whatever, they understand the recognition is there. So they're like, amazing. You've realized where this has come from. What else can we do? What else can we do? And you're like, oh, it'd be good if I had this. And they give it to you. And you go, thanks again, thanks again. So what happens is, because you've now got this spiritual connection, this divine connection, and this is the door that I was talking about beginning to open, because what you've done by saying thank you, by recognizing where that ideas come from or how you've managed to find this, they're like, what else can we do? What else can we do? How else can we help you? And they're constantly giving you more and more and more help. But if those doors are shut, you never get the help because you shut the doors. It's like having all these people wanting to help you and they're outside the house, but you shut the house down and they can't get in to give you any help. So when you say thank you, you're opening up the doors for them to give you more and more and more. And this is again where prayer, when people ask and they pray, and then what they pray for happens, a lot of the time they'll never say thank you. And it's like, but you're going to say thank you to your friend, so why not say thank you immediately when it's come in? And it's only 2 words and it's quietly in your head. And this is where this divine connection starts to develop, because you suddenly realize that in the physical world, we're only 1%. The spiritual world is 99 times bigger than us, 99 times more powerful than us. You know, it's a comprehension that we're unable to kind of get into our minds how much help there is. And the spiritual world the collective, God, however you want to word it, is here 24/7, 365 days of the year, saying, what can I do? What can I do? How can I help you? How can I help you? But we shut these doors down and then we never get the help. So we pray and we never get the help because we've shut that connection down. When you open the connection up, then what happens is all that help can come flooding into your life. So, like talking about prayers, suddenly you see things happening, but you have to say thank you to create a better connection. And that's effectively what I've been doing from 2015 going on, is understanding that relationship between me and who I am and the spiritual world, and how does it work? How do I get things to come into my life? And it's doing all of that suddenly I feel back in control and I can do things. And I've constantly got this thing, where stuff's coming in. But it's only because of who I am and having my connection open. And it's the same for everybody that's watching this. You can create anything to go in your life, but you have to be excited to develop that spiritual connection. If you're unexcited about your life, if you have very few things that you think you're excited about, you'll stop that connection. And then suddenly everything that you want never happens. And then you start focusing on the things that you don't want. And you complain about this and you complain about that. And because you're focusing on everything that's a problem in your life, you get more of those and you manifest problems. And then you focus on the problems and you say how terrible my life is. And then your life just gets worse. But it's because people have created it to happen that way, because they've given control of their lives away. And this is exactly what I did. And this is the turning point that I had to change and take that control back.
Wow. No, it's fine. I'm actually loving the discussion that we're having right now, because we know that we have to have a personal relationship with our God or whatever faith we have, right? This one, it's like you're discussing that God is just within us or with us, that all the time we're able to talk to Him. Like when we get an idea, we just immediately say, thank you, God. Thank you for this idea. Because we do have this gratitude journals, but it's not as immediate as you discussed it a while ago, that instantly we need to say thank you for whatever happens in our life. So I think that's the main difference in what you're doing and the technique that you have. I'd like to ask, because you have manifested a lot of things, if this technique or knowledge that you have, will this work for everyone?
It will, but it will. I can guarantee that the technique will work for everybody. I can guarantee the technique will work. Can I guarantee that everybody will get the technique to work? No, because people will block it from happening, and they'll block it from happening because of their belief systems. That they have no belief that it's going to work. This is why the knowledge is really important. Because if you've got the knowledge, then the belief system's stronger. If you start with small things, your belief system grows. So this is what people do: is their belief systems have been shot. Their belief systems have been based on, right, I need to get the big things. The big things never come in, so they start disbelieving. The second thing is negativity, right? If you're focusing constantly on problems, then you're just going to manifest more problems, okay? You're going to get, and let's say that makes up 70, 80% of your daily life is focusing on problems, then 70, 80% of the things that come into your life are going to be rubbish. And then the good things that you want to come in, you're going to block them from happening. And then the third thing that blocks it is they are failing to be excited about their lives, right? And if you've got no excitement in your life because you're miserable, then you fail to meet that one condition that makes manifestation, prayer, asking actually work. It's all the same thing. It's just we humans give it a different name. Because you've got no excitement, it's like one condition that you need, like putting fuel in your car. Someone says, I've got a car, but, it's going nowhere. If you put fuel in it, no, that's the one condition you need. You've got to put the fuel in the car. And they go, all right, okay. So what's the one fuel? It's being excited about your life, But I ask people, I say to them, what are you excited about? And they look at me and they go, I don't know. No, I said, give me 5 or 6 things that you're excited about. And they're like, I don't know. I said, come on, work it out. You know, you excited to be alive? They're like, no. And I'm like, well, how can you get manifestations to work when you've got no excitement? And so you've got to go back to the basics and go, what am I doing today that I'm excited about? Small things, right? Find all the small things. You know, I'm seeing my friend at 3 o'clock, you know, for a coffee. I'm excited to see them. Great. There's one, right? And we've lost this skill, right? Because we've been dulled down by social media and life and
Yeah,
problems.
a lot of things.
Getting faster and faster.
Yeah.
And we've forgotten the basics. And all I'm doing is I'm telling you the basics, but from the, you know, the 99% spiritual world's point of view, that they need to see happen. And that puts us back in control of our lives. When we're back in control of our lives, amazing things happen. What I was going to give you was, as an exercise, for everyone that's watching, is 3 things that you can do to help this divine connection, to make it bigger, right? To prove that it's actually working. The first thing is that in our lives, we're really busy. And I'm not sure what it's exactly like in the Philippines, but, you know, in the UK, it's like you're constantly bombarded with information, and you're on your phone, and you're on your Facebook, and your WhatsApp, and everything's going on in the news. And our minds are like supercomputers, but it's like an overload of information. And when you've got all of those things going on, it's very easy to be distracted and to have a mind that's really busy about all the problems and things that are wrong. And what you've got to create is space in your life. Because if you imagine when you go in the shower and you're like, oh, this feels so good, and you start to relax and you get an idea. And most people get most of their good ideas when they're in the shower, and it's because they've relaxed, right? And so the thing to do is to take 3 10-minute breaks a day, right? And just sit, preferably, as opposed to lie down, and close your eyes and just gently breathe, right? Like a light meditation. If you want to do that, you can think about things if you want to, it's okay. And by closing your eyes, you create like a moat around you. So all of the busy stuff gets pushed further and further away. In Japan, they call this M-A-R, and they value space. So like the moat around you is space, in the same way, like if you had a castle, you know, your castle is going to be attacked by whoever. But if you put a moat around the castle, the moat creates space, and then it's very hard for people to attack you. So in Japan, they call it Ma. And Ma is like if I'm talking to you and I pause and I think about what I'm going to say, and then I say it, they value that space where you've thought about it more than what you said. Because what you've done by slowing things down is you've allowed things to come into your life. So what people should do is they should take 3 10-minute breaks a day, you know, just close their eyes, just relax. And what it does is it pushes away all the busyness and the nonsense that's going on and the negativity, and it creates a gap. And that gap is the starting point for your spiritual connection, your doors to open up for things to come into your life. Okay, so that's number 1, is to create the space. Number 2, you should create a list, right? And it's like all the small things that would be really, really valuable to you. So, you know, you're waiting on a refund coming in, you'd like it to come today, you're waiting on a parcel being delivered, it'd be magic if that came today as opposed to tomorrow. You know, you're trying to find your keys, you know, all of the small things. You know, you try to get hold of your Auntie Ethel, you know, but she's not answered the phone, you needed to phone you back. People forget, you know, manifestation is about small things. And if you can list all those really, 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 they're important, but they're small things. If you can list them, literally write them down and have a look at them just for a couple of minutes at the beginning of the day, what it does is it reminds the mind, right, the manifestation elements of the mind, the things that are really important to you. And then when they come in and you go like tick, 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 suddenly you go, oh, wow, I've got all these things going on. And then you realize that you're manifesting them. And this is really important because we're all super manifestors. But if we've got no knowledge of what we're manifesting, and anyway, it's like shopping. When you go shopping, do you make a list of everything that you need when you go shopping? Yeah, right. So why not make a list of all the small things that are really important to you? If you've got no list, how do you know what you want? So that's the second thing. The third thing is when you're leading your life or when you're talking to someone, your mind should be having these, what I call deliberate manifestations. So it should be asking questions like, so how does that work? What's the solution for that? And then you're asking at least 10 to 20 times a day, little questions in your head. And that's the spiritual divine connection bit where it's like, so how do I do that? Where is this? Where did I put that? How can I do this? So you're chatting to somebody, and I was chatting to somebody the other day, and they'd said about putting their parents into a nursing home, and it was costing them £5,000 a month, but they had to pay for it. And so in my head, I was like, I wonder how much money they've got. And they turned around to me and said, I've got enough money to last for 24 months. Well, 24 months times 5,000 means they've got 120 grand in the bank. So by me asking that question, they told me the answer to it. So I suddenly knew how much money they had in the bank, because you get inquisitive. And because you see that happening, you suddenly realize that you are then a deliberate manifester. So those are the three things, 3 10-minute breaks to create space, write down a list of all the small things, and then have at least 10 to 20 conscious thoughts of things that you need answers to that would really, really help you in some way. And when you do that, you start to go from being a child that can't move to a child that's crawling, to a child very quickly that's standing up, to a child that's suddenly walking and giving it, look at me, look at what stuff I can walk. It's like, I can manifest. And then you're like, oh, actually, I'm getting really good at this. I'm going to start to run a little bit. And the manifestations get bigger. And you're like, oh, this is incredible. So I'm now going to run even quicker. And the manifestations get bigger. And because they're getting bigger, you get more excited. Because you get more excited, doors are opening up because you're meeting that one condition that the universe, the spiritual world, God has. And then you're saying thank you every single time. And there's more and more and more things coming in. And life is wonderful. So those are the three things, from a divine connection point of view, that you build into your life. Dead simple. They take small amounts of time,
Yes.
but they make a massive difference.
Yeah. So, okay, we got to be excited and we have to be positive, not to be focusing on the problems because we will be attracting more of that, what we focus on, right? So, are there any other rules that work for manifestations?
There is this technique. We've got a number of these talks that we're going to do. So what I'm going to do is there is a specific technique that I've actually got. But what I'd like to do is roll that into the next talk if I could, because I've got to give some intro to how it works, and then I've got to explain it. And I want to do this through the subjects that we've actually got. So what I've given you there is the core things to know about. What everyone should really appreciate is that over the next 4 weeks, this is a journey, right? So rather than somebody going like, bang, there's all the answers, you've got to come on this journey, and there'll be more and more stuff that I'll give you as we go along. Some of the stuff will be the same because the core essence of everything is the same, and then I'll add bits and pieces to it. But it's really important that people understand this is a journey, but they can start to test everything, get the self-verification that it actually works. And what's really important is self-observation, because in our lives there's an outer self and an inner self. And the outer self is the events that happen, good and bad, but they are purely a reflection of our inner selves. And our inner selves are emotional beings, because we're emotional human beings. And this is a whole separate talk. And inside of us, we're governed by our egos, which EGO stands for everyone's got one, but we've got hundreds of egos. And it's these egos that control us, right? So it's like you think you're just one person, but you're actually made up of hundreds of people, so there's the jealousy ego and, the angry ego and the resentment ego and, the unfairness ego and the fear egos and the lack egos, right? There's all of these things going on that eat away at our heads. And the problem is when we've got all of those things happening, they steal all our energy, right? So that's why you can be, recounting an emotional, upsetting thing that's happened with someone, and you get to the end of the day, you're totally drained of energy. And it's because you've allowed that ego to absorb all the energy from you and reduce you down. But whilst you've been doing that, you've had no excitement in your life. So I'll deal with that in another talk, because it is incredibly powerful, how you can take out all the nonsense that is controlling your life. And it's like taking a massive weight off your shoulders, and suddenly you go, oh, I feel so good. I feel so good now that 99% of all problems fail to exist. They're illusions that we create in our minds. And you can test that. Go back and look over the last week, month of everything that you've worried about and how many of them have actually happened. And the answer is very, very few. But we create them and we make them bigger. And this is what I'm saying. It's like, we think we know about life, but you asked me that one question. Is the one thing we should be doing? Self-observation. What am I thinking about? How much time am I spending worrying? What am I worrying about? Observe yourself, because I did that. And when I realized that I was spending 99% of my time worrying, right? I'd get out of bed and I was like, I've got this to do and I've got that to do, and this is not going to happen. I'm not going to get paid for this, and I've got this bill and I've got that bill. And before I'd even had my breakfast, I was in a total state of panic, and then it was making me depressed. And then that made my health worse because my vibration level had gone right down. And I was just creating all of this. And so I had to do the opposite. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done, is to do the opposite of everything that you've been doing, but you don't know you're doing it.
Thank you so much, Mark, for discussing everything. Okay. Just need to share with you, our family had journeyed for like over 10 years. We know this thing about law of attraction because we started back in Canada and we watched this movie, The Secret. I haven't read the book. We watched the movie though. And from that time on, I delved more into it. And then I came to learn that the movie, The Secret, or even probably the book, it was just an introduction to the whole idea of the law of attraction. Yeah. And actually, I became a better Catholic because of that idea of law of attraction. And I think everything that you have discussed here is all about law of attraction. Now, my question is is this book a good source to learn manifestation from?
Everyone has to start somewhere. And The Secret has done a fantastic job in, I'm going to use the phrase, waking people up, right? Showing them there is a possibility, getting them enthusiastic, inspiring them, maybe giving them a bit of a motivation, that there is more to life than what they think. And so from a starting point, I think it's excellent, right? I really honestly do. In terms of its practicality, in terms of giving you the solutions, no, right? It's good. It's like being in a car, and it's really good at getting you into first gear and maybe moving you into second gear, but it takes you no further than that because there's no explanation as to how everything works. That's what I do. I explain how things work so that when you try them, you know how to apply them. You know why it's going to work. You know why you've got all of this help from the spiritual world wanting all of these manifestations to happen for you. So I think it's a brilliant starting point. But once you've done it, you then got to look, whether it's me or you look for somebody else that can tell you how it works, but then can give you the actual techniques to make it work very well.
Yeah, I do agree because like I said, we've been journeying for the past like over 10 years already from the time that we have started watching that movie. And I know it's more than just manifesting. It's actually being a better person.
Yes.
Right? Better person, because you have to like really delve into all these topics about who you really are and your divine connection, which is actually our topic for today. So do you have one last message to our audience about this topic, divine connection, that you'd like to share?
It's really kind of just to take everything I said sort of on board, and whatever's happening in your life, whether it's good things or bad things, right? Particularly if you go back and look at all the bad things, the one thing I would say to you is accept responsibility for everything that's happened in your life, good and bad, but particularly the bad things. and know that you have created them. And people go, oh, Mark, oh, well, why would I want to do that? And I say, well, look, if you can accept that you've created a ton of bad things, it means that you are a super manifester. And it just means that you've already got the power. And then rather than pointing in that direction, there's problems, let's point it in that direction and make them really, really, really good things. And so that was probably a starting point for me, was accepting that it was my fault for everything that happened in my life. Because what I used to do was I'd blame my parents for never giving me the knowledge, the school for never teaching me properly, bad business partners. I'd blame the universe. I would say it was like divinity and fate, and that was causing my problems. Then I'd blame economy, I'd blame them. And so I blame everybody for all of my problems. And then when I went, you know what? The only person that I haven't blamed is myself. And so I'll take responsibility for everything because I've created it. But instead of creating problems, I'm going to create amazing things to happen in my life. And it's that responsibility. That's the one thing I would say to you to answer your question is take responsibility for everything, and if you do that, it's like a massive step going forward as opposed to a massive, constantly going backwards and getting more problems.
This is really a good start to more interesting topics later on because you've established our divine connection. And from this vantage point, we can look forward to more magic coming to our life. So thank you very much, Mark, and hope to see you soon.
Yes, we'll do. And as we go on this journey, I'm going to give people more and more things to do that they can take away as homework to prove that this works. And because they can prove that it works, they get the self-verification and they can go, yes, look what I've done, look what I've done, look what I've done. And that's what I want, is to go over this journey over the next few weeks where people take back control and they realize how amazing they are as super manifestors and how brilliant their lives can actually become.
I'm JJ.
I'm JM.
I'm Jock. I'm Jake.
And I'm Jamie.
And welcome to It's Time Wow!
Wisdom on Wednesdays.
Your weekly dose of wisdom.
So every Wednesday, we will invite wisdom-filled individuals that will share with us their expertise, competence, and experience that will help us gain more success, knowledge, and wisdom.
And we'll have these episodes ready and available on our YouTube channel for your future reference.
So get your fill of wisdom every Wednesday.
It's time!